You hear it all the time. One person tells you 1200 calories will melt your body fat, another person tells you it's too low calorie and destroys your metabolism. It's confusing, it's frustrating, and I get it, so I want to help clear things up. The truth is, neither is necessarily right or wrong, as it depends on your body and your goals. So today I'm going to give you a meal plan of what a 1200 calorie diet can look like and talk about the potential pros and cons of doing so. Hey, this is Colin DeWay. If you want to master your metabolism, get in the best shape of your life, and be able to keep it off, then make sure you subscribe and click on that bell notification so you don't miss anything. So here's the thing, in general, when people say you shouldn't just jump into a 1200 calorie diet, I would agree with them. However, that doesn't mean that's always the case, and sometimes 1200 calories might be a good option for you. So you need to know the risks of going on a low calorie diet and have a plan for what you're gonna do after. Which, make sure you stick around to the end of the video, because I'm gonna make sure you know how to do this. So here's the thing you need to understand. Your metabolism is adaptive, which means if you bring your calories right down to 1200, which for most people is gonna be pretty dang low calorie, sure, you'll probably lose weight pretty quickly at first. However, your body's main priority isn't to look good naked, it's to survive. And if it thinks there's a lack of energy supply, aka calories, it's going to start making some hormonal and metabolic adaptations to make sure you don't starve to death. It does this by making your body more efficient at storing the calories you give it, which typically we think of efficient as a good thing, but in the case of fat loss, it's not, because now you're burning less calories through things like your basal metabolic rate, calories burned through exercise, etc. Not only do you have these slowdowns in metabolism fighting you, but the faster you lose weight, the more likely you are to lose muscle, which losing more muscle only slows down your metabolism even more, not to mention also has negative implications on your body composition and makes it much more likely, even if you do lose weight, to have sort of that saggy look when people lose weight quickly, especially without strength training. On top of that, you're much more likely to be extra hungry, feel extremely tired, become more agitated, and just overall not feel so good. And of course, it's going to be less likely for you to be able to execute your plan and stay on it if you always feel like crap. And what's even worse is if you go into effort mode and go into binging behavior after crash dieting, this can be an absolute disaster, which is part of what I'll talk about next. But we also have to think about the sustainability of your plan. Unfortunately, a trap for many people is only looking at what they're gonna do to lose the weight without putting any thought into what they're gonna do when the weight's gone, and the chances of you sticking to something you hate are extremely low. So what often happens is you decide it's not worth it, it's too hard, I give up. You go back to eating a lot of food, probably even more than you did before because of how restricted you feel, but now you're doing so with your metabolism already slowed down, and it becomes super easy not only to gain the weight back, but oftentimes overshoot previous levels of body fat before you even started dieting. Plus, in terms of getting the best long-term results, fast results in the beginning, which may sound like a great thing, are oftentimes the very thing that keeps you from getting where you want to be, because sure, you'll lose weight in the beginning stages, but now that you've already dropped your calories super low, your body has adapted to this and you have no room to make adjustments to keep the process working. So in general, it's better to eat as many calories as possible while seeing results, so you have room to make these adjustments when plateaus happen, because they are going to happen at some point. Think about it this way: if you have 50 pounds to lose, would you rather lose 25 pounds in a month and then get stuck and not lose any more, or losing 8 pounds in a month but eventually losing all 50? Which of course means, yes, there are dangers in dropping calories too low too fast. However, that doesn't mean it's not necessarily a good option for you. Which, by the way, before getting into that, I do have in the description of this video a sample meal plan of what a 1200 calorie diet plan could look like, as I thought it might be helpful to see an example, but understand that these foods aren't magic. So use it more as a reference to get some ideas, but there's no such thing as foods that burn fat, nor are there foods that store fat. It all requires context of your overall diet. However, of course, it doesn't mean that food quality doesn't matter, and especially on low calories like this, you want to make sure you're eating plenty of nutrient dense foods, whole foods, these foods that are going to help you feel full, nourish the body well, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy other things you do like, just more in moderation and trying to fit it within your numbers. Anyway, let's talk about why a 1200 calorie diet plan might be right for you. Keep in mind, everyone has different energy requirements. A 250 pound male male is going to have a different energy requirement than a 110-pound female. If you're a smaller female, especially with a longer history of dieting, maybe you're not very active in general, then 1200 calories might be appropriate for you. And again, you do want to eat as many calories as possible. However, you don't want to listen to people who say that you should never go down to 1200 calories. It's too low, because maybe you do. And by being too afraid to drop your calories low enough, you therefore can't see results. And it might be something that you have to do to get those results. You don't want to do it if you don't have to, but you just might. The other scenario where it may make sense to drop calories really low right away, not something I typically recommend, but in more extreme scenarios, a more rapid fat loss approach may make sense because the risk of being morbidly obese can outweigh the risks of being on low calories. What I mean by this is getting some of the fat off your joints, off your organs, helping your health markers start to improve. Not sure if you ever heard of this, but there was an extreme case back, I think it was in the 60s, where a man did not eat any food for over a year, starting at 456 pounds. Now, this was under medical supervision, which is extremely important to say. So am I suggesting a starvation diet like this? Absolutely not. But the point is, sometimes going on extreme measures can help you get into a healthier place, as being morbidly obese may carry a higher risk than those low calories. There's also the mental benefit that can come with faster weight loss in the earlier stages, as when you have a lot of weight to lose, it can feel like getting to where you want to be is impossible. It feels like it's so far out there that you can never possibly get there. So the motivation of these quicker results can make it feel more realistic, help with buy-in to the process, and help you start changing some of your habits and behaviors. The only problem here is, while the fast weight loss in the beginning is motivating, it's not a long-term solution. It's just something short-term to get you into the swing of things, but you're going to have to be okay with getting away from that approach, getting used to slower results, which of course can be difficult mentally. Granted, no matter what, results are going to slow down over time. It's just going to happen. But it's important to understand that this is not a quick fix. It's just one step in the path to a healthier lifestyle, but you're gonna have to be aware that you will have to bring your calories back up eventually. Whether that's through a reverse diet where you more gradually increase your calories over time to help get your metabolism back into a better place while minimizing chances of extra fat gain during the process, or even just going straight back up to your new predicted maintenance calories, which carries more risk of a little bit more fat regain. But also understand there's a huge difference between gaining a little bit of weight back for more flexibility, a better metabolism, and things like that, versus going into the all or nothing mentality that causes you to gain all the weight back. Keep in mind too, while you may hear this and think, oh, that's great, I'll just do that. It's a much different ballgame when you actually get there, when your hormones are all out of whack, your hunger signals are crazy, your body's fighting you hard. It wants you to gain the weight back because it has this body fat set point. You're well below it. So just thinking, well, I'll just slowly increase my calories, that's all well and good, but when you're in the moment afterwards, it can be way more difficult than you think, and is usually the hardest part of weight loss, keeping the weight off after. Now, I want to give you some strategies you can take if you are going to go on one of these lower calorie approaches to help set you up for success. You may have noticed in the meal plan in the description, there's a lot of high protein foods. This is for good reason, as protein is so helpful for fat loss and body composition, and one of the most underrated things you can do. And this is not only because protein is filling, so it helps you feel full. If you're not quite as hungry on lower calories, it makes it less likely for you to overeat, but it also has a high thermic effect of food, which basically means your body burns a lot of calories processing the food you eat. And it's also going to help prevent muscle loss, or even help you potentially build muscle if you're brand new to training, even on the lower calories. But this becomes even more important if you're going to lose weight really fast, because the faster you lose weight, the more likely you are to lose muscle. You can also add in some extra activity to help create a bit more calorie burn to help create that deficit, but I wouldn't recommend on these lower calories more high intensity forms of exercise. Your energy supply is low, and therefore your energy will be low. And if you do these high intensity bouts of exercise, you're going to run yourself into the ground. It's going to be super hard to recover from. And not only will that make you feel like crap, but there's a good chance you'll actually burn less total calories because you're so exhausted you don't move around throughout the day. So I recommend just going for regular walks. Just go out daily or a handful of days a week and just go for a regular walk. It can help create some more calorie burn, not run you to the ground, and can be much more helpful than a lot of people think. Also, I strongly recommend some strength training here. You might not be able to do a ton because your energy supply is going to be low. However, even just 2 to 3 days can be super helpful, not only for helping potentially build or at least retain muscle as much as possible, but it's just overall one of the best things you can do for your body composition. Also, make sure you're keeping an eye on portion sizes here and accurately accounting for your intake, because especially on these lower calories, it can be easy to overshoot your calories if you're just eyeballing portion sizes, taking extra bites and nibbles and licks, and research has shown that people just aren't very good at accurately accounting for their intake. In fact, take this research that actually took obese people who claimed they couldn't lose weight on 1,200 calorie diets, and it showed in actuality they were consuming about double what they thought they were, not to mention burning about half as many calories as they thought as well. So if you are on extremely low calories and finding it hard to lose weight or not losing weight at all, double down on making sure your adherence is there and start measuring everything you eat on a food scale down to the gram, at least in the short term, to get a better idea of where you're at metabolically. And lastly, it's important you know some of the warning signs your body will give you if these calories are too low for you and you're not eating enough. So make sure you check out this top video next, and I'll cover all the warning signs you need to watch out for. Otherwise, I think you'll find this bottom video helpful instead. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in one of those other videos.